Greetings and welcome to J5 Strategy. Um, we are now officially live. We have with us Mr. Adam Reader, right? Mr.
Yes, sir.
Adam,
Adam Rueda, how are you?
just so I don't butcher your last name, what's your last name? How do you pronounce your last name?
My family says it Rueda, Adam Rueda.
Rueda. Okay. Mr. Adam
Perfect.
Rueda, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome,
No problem.
everyone.
Thanks
Yes.
for having me.
Yes, so there's so many people tuning in today. We have people as far as outside of New Jersey, and within New Jersey as well, NG5 district, Bergen County, Passaic, part of Passaic, and as well as Essex County. What are the other county? You're from which county? You're from, sir?
Sussex County,
Sussex County. Oh,
Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County is the district.
and Sussex County. Bergen, um, all of Bergen County.
Vast
So,
vast majority of Bergen, not all of it, vast majority, and then some of Passaic and some of Sussex.
some of Sussex. Sounds good. Sounds good. Awesome. So let's get started. Just for the context, we would do the best. We'll do our best to help educate our viewers. For those who are not familiar with whom you are, what you're all about. For those who are outside of New Jersey, who are interested in getting to know you, or getting to support your candidacy, I'll
Yep.
try to carry everyone along. Okay. All right. Let's get started. So welcome once again, Mr. Adam. Mr. Adam here is running for Congress in the state of New Jersey 5th Congressional District. There are 12 congressional districts in the state of New Jersey, and Mr. Adam is running for one of those district seats, which covers part of Bergen County, majorly, Passaic County, and as well as Sussex County. Bergen County in the history of New Jersey has always been one of those key county that you must win if you want to win a statewide race, precisely that of the governorship election. Now, it has also come down to, for you to win the congressional election in NG5, Bergen County happened to be one of the very key county that you need to win. So for Mr. Adam to win the congressional election, he has to win Bergen County. Bergen County is where I was raised. In New Milford, New Jersey. He's trying to represent me in that district. And Mr. Adam comes from Sussex County. So, Mr. Adam, we're going to have you introduce yourself to our viewers out there. So, tell us, who are you? What are you all about? All those things. Go for it, sir.
Yes, sir. So I'm an independent candidate. I'm not running as a Democrat or a Republican. I'm running as an independent, more left-leaning, progressive candidate. I'm running on a platform of universal human rights, basic human dignity for all. I think we need to get ICE out of New Jersey and, shut down Delaney Hall, as well as the for-profit ICE facility in Elizabeth. For free speech, I'm for climate-oriented, planet-first policy. I believe that we're in an urgent climate emergency, so I aim to pursue a lot of green politics. Um, yeah, I've committed to not owning stocks or crypto while I'm in office, so I'm committed to being a grassroots person, independent person. I'm not bought and paid for by any corporations or foreign interests. I grew up in Sussex County all my life for 20 years, and I feel like I really know the district well. This district is close to my heart, and I think I can do a much better job of representing it than the level that our representation is at now.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Thank you very much. For those who do not understand, there are many elective offices in the United States, in New Jersey. There are the local offices and there are the federal offices. Mr. Adam here is running for that of one of the federal offices, which is as a congressman, is hoping to serve as a congressman. Mr. Adam, why Congress? Many would say, why not start off as a councilman or as a city councilman? What city are you from, by the way? What town?
I'm from Andover Township in Sussex County.
Okay, so why not um, for township, for township council, or why not for mayor? Why not for the state assembly? Why not for the state senate? Why Congress? Why aspire for Congress? We would love to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think really it's unprecedented times in this country, and it's time to act swiftly and act with moral and ethical clarity. And it's unprecedented times, so I feel like we need to close the gap between what people want on the ground here in New Jersey 5 in the district and where our representation is at on the federal level. And I think broadly, our representation throughout the country is out of step with everyday Americans. So I think our democracy is unfortunately, sorely out of step with the working class, with the kitchen table family of America. And there's a big opportunity there to correct course and, help our country heal and move to a better chapter. But I'm really trying to make an impact, a big impact from the start. I believe that we need more young people in Congress as well. Gen Z is an important part of our society, a big part of our society. It's actually the biggest voting bloc, today in 2026. And we only have one Gen Z congressman in Congress, Maxwell Frost from Florida, but most of our Congress is in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. So we really need to, pass the baton to the younger generation and get some newer, fresher ideas into Congress. So I'm hopeful that more young professionals in their 20s and 30s will feel inspired to run for Congress as independents outside of the two-party system, so we can start getting some representatives that really, have the will and the volition to represent the people in their district and their constituency first and foremost above corporate or international interests.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Adam. Um,
No.
why didn't you run as a Republican? Why choose to run as an independent? Why did you not run as a Democrat? Do you mind sharing that with us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, unfortunately, Republicans have descended into a bit of a fascism, and I'm not in support of the ICE police, paramilitary force in the streets. And just doing my canvassing and my petitioning out in the district, I would say that that is the number one issue that people have with their communities. They don't want to be in fear. They don't want to have these abductions happening in their communities or in their neighborhoods. And they certainly didn't agree to these for-profit detention facilities that are potentially going up in Roxbury, as well as are fully functioning in Delaney Hall in Newark, and also in Elizabeth. So I think that I wouldn't run as a Republican, no chance. Um, right now, I think that they're severely out of step with my politics. Also, this district is a district that values women's health care and right to choose. And, that's, I think that that's definitely a popular policy in this district. So I think Republicans are out of step in this district as well. First and foremost, I want to represent the people on the ground and be reflective of, what's popular in the district and their beliefs. But on the other side, I wouldn't really run as a Democrat either. I've also been a bit disillusioned with the Democratic Party. They've had their chance to right the ship in many ways. In my life, I'm 29 years old, and I feel like they've also contributed to a political climate that is very pro big business, pro war, and they've also contributed to, the atrocities of funding ICE and splitting families apart. So I'm pretty disillusioned with both parties. I think that they're looking pretty similar these days in terms of, the policies that they're putting forward and what's actually getting passed in Congress. So I think there's a lot of on the other side of that, there's a lot of ideologies and political opinions that are not represented at all on the federal level. So we're the only advanced democracy in the world without at least three political parties represented on their federal or national level. So I think that's really something we can move towards, more of a multi-party system, because this hyper-polarized two-party system is not working. I think it's extremely inefficient governance, and I think people are suffering, as a result of it. So just trying to think outside the box. Gottheimer kind of does his own thing and votes with Republicans a fair amount. So he's got his own brand of politics that he kind of adheres to, that he's tailor-made for this district. So it's going to have to be a new tailor-made district, brand of politics to represent New Jersey 5.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adam.
Of
Uh,
course,
Gaitama has represented NG5 is a very interesting district and
it
state.
is.
It's one of those districts whereby the congressman, the current incumbent, has been able to manage the Democrats and as well as the Republicans all together. Um, in
Yeah,
fact, he has done that so wonderfully well, such that Democrats are unable to get rid of him. They have tried to primary him multiple times. In fact, Republicans, on the other hand, they've produced numerous candidates, or they've produced strong candidates, um, specifically someone who hailed from Bergen County to challenge him, and it came that shot to defeating Congressman Josh Gaitama. If someone from Bergen County can pour in all those money and resources towards challenging Congressman Josh Gaitama, and it came shot, what gives you the assurance that you from Sussex County, right? Is it Sussex County? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sussex County,
You
correct.
from Sussex County will be able to take him on and win and defeat him.
Yes, sir. So it's an interesting question. The most recent Democratic primary where we saw a strong challenge was in 2020. So it's 6 years ago. A lot has changed since then. But we had a Dr. Artie run, accomplished woman, run as a progressive in the Democratic primary. She was endorsed by groups like Sunrise Movement. She was endorsed by Senator Bernie Sanders. And like you said, she only garnered 33% of the vote in 2020. So I think that the way to actually beat Josh Gottheimer instead of the Democratic primary is in the general election because 40% of this district is unaffiliated. They're independent. They're not registered to either party. So that's 40% of the district, hundreds of thousands of voters that are not voting in primaries. They're staying at home. They probably don't vote much at all. But I'm hopeful, someone like me with a little more creative background and someone that is outspoken like I am, I think that maybe I can motivate some people that haven't voted in the recent past to come out and vote against someone like Josh Gottheimer. So that is the main reason, and I think that you know, Democrats are always going to the Democratic Party primary is always going to be like kind of like an away game, and they have their own tricks up their sleeve in terms of how they can manipulate their voters. So I think having a general election with also another third viable candidate in terms of the Republican candidate I think brings it down to a three-man race. And I think that in a three-man race, you only need, of course, 33% to be competitive. I think in this district, like a 38% of the vote share could win because there's definitely a strong third of the district that is a Republican and is going to vote red no matter what, supports Trump in this administration, especially in some of Bergen and Sussex and Passaic County. So, yeah, I think we have to think creatively and outside the box from the Democratic primary. And the way to do that is to motivate people that might have been disaffected by politics in general, just been turned off by it, which I don't blame them. It's been purposely made extremely toxic on the news and on social media. A lot of people are not entertained by politics in any way. So we have to find a way to re-engage those people in their democracy and their representation and, connect them back to their government, I think is the main priority.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. You made mention of Dr. Hattie.
Yeah,
I remember her very well.
Dr. Artie
Yeah,
Krybich ran in
correct.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's from Glen Rock, New Jersey. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm
Um,
not sure exactly from Bergen County.
yeah, she was once upon a time a city councilwoman, and
Okay,
then
yeah, I think she's still involved in government there. I think she's running for county clerk.
nice, nice, nice. She ran a great race. In that particular election,
I
she
think she
was
got derailed because of COVID as well.
correct. 2020. That's the year 2020. Correct. That was actually the year. It was quite an interesting year. Canvassing was done quite differently. We had a lot of caravanning being used as canvassing, which is quite impressive. Um,
Yeah,
Now, there's something significant about that year. Well, about New Jersey politics. There's a reason why they call it New Jersey politics, which has to do with the line, the ballot line. That's something that really crushes formidable candidates against incumbents in the state of New Jersey. I believe that was um, the major reason as to why Dr. Hattie came short at defeating Congressman Josh Gaitami. Now, interestingly, you ran not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, but you're running as an independent. That's a tough one to crack, in the sense that you're dealing with a vast majority of registered Democrats who simply do not want you to contest in the election because they would want to vote for their own. And at the same time, you're also dealing with registered Democrats who would love to see a challenger for Congressman Josh Gaitama, but they do not want to trust you yet because they believe that it has to be a Democrat. At the same time, you're also dealing with registered Republicans who are just hell bent on voting for Republican candidates. Um, Similarly, you're also dealing with registered Republicans who are down to voting for an independent candidate. Same with some Democrats who are registered Democrats, they're down to voting for an independent candidate. Now, it's tricky in the sense that you would you might want to need to be able to turn on the vote, like bring out the votes, um, and as well as not dissuade voters from coming out and voting in that election. So people would argue, some might argue that because you might actually dissuade others from voting, you do not stand a credible chance of winning in the election. And that might actually be a reason as to why many, whether Republicans or Democrats or independents, will choose to not come out and cast their vote for you. What do you have to say regarding all this interesting voters out there who might have all this ideology as to why you should not be in the race, as to why they think their vote will be wasted if they were to come out and vote for as independent, as to why they're better off just staying at home and not coming out to vote simply because since you're in the race, it's not going to make a difference. What do you say to all these voters out there?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, regardless if you're gonna vote for Wada or, vote Democrat or Republican, my message is definitely to be engaged in your democracy, come out and vote, make your voice heard. We only get the chance to vote, once every 2 years as American citizens, and, constituents of New Jersey 5. So whatever your preference is in terms of your candidate for the next 2 years, I encourage everyone to come out and vote, cast your ballot. Mail-in ballots are going to be coming to in the mail in September, starting in September. So absolutely, everyone. I hope that we can get voter participation up in this country in general. We're generally around 50 to 60%, even in our biggest elections. That holds true in New Jersey 5 when we elect our congressman. So again, that's 40% of people that are disengaged from politics and think that their voice doesn't matter on the grand scheme of things, which I would object to. Um, but yeah, I think it's like I said, moving on from that, I think it's unprecedented times in history in terms of fascism, in terms of genocide, in terms of, detention camps being built right here in New Jersey. So I think it's on all of us as informed Americans and educated Americans to do the research and to learn about the candidates that we're voting for and not vote in lockstep or in a loyalist mindset. And when you dig into Congressman Josh Gottheimer and you see his kind of voting record and what he stands for, he's pretty out of line with even, mainstream Democrats, and Democrats that are rising in the party, more progressive people like Representative Ocasio-Cortez or, some of the younger generation coming up. So I think it's on everyone to get informed about what policies their candidates stand for and especially their voting record. And, Gottheimer has, quite the voting record over the past 10 years. He's got quite the track record of insider stock trading. He's got quite the track record of fundraising from corporate PACs and international focused groups. So I think it's on everyone to do that education. And since this district is actually, like you said, majority Democrat, there's about 40% of this district is Democrat, registered Democrat. I think that that is most aligned with policies like Medicare for all, policies like universal human rights and basic human dignity for all. I think that that is kind of where the Democratic Party is trending, hopefully, and I do believe that's true here in northern New Jersey. And I think that it might work to their disadvantage a little bit by moving the district. so left. They packed this district with urban and suburban voters in New Jersey, and I think that Gottheimer is a bit out of line with them. So this seat is up for grabs, and it's a true three-man race, hopefully.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Thank you. You said Congressman Josh Gardner is probably out of line. Many would agree with that. Um, Many Democrats would agree with that statement. Many Republicans would agree with that statement. Many independent voters would agree with that statement in New Jersey 5th Congressional District. The problem is, despite him being out of line, it's been such of a great difficulty getting rid of him. He has been able to successfully galvanize base from the Republicans, Democrats, and Independents in NG5 districts.
Right.
He's actually been noted to say stuff such as, "I'm elected to represent every voters in the district of NG5. I am elected to represent Republicans, Democrats, and Independents." Whenever he's been criticized by Democrats or by the Republicans or by the Independents, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. In a way, it's the right thing to do as an elected official. Represent the very same people in your district to whom you're elected to represent. If elected as an independent candidate, how do you intend to represent these various diverse, unique categories of voters who probably would not align or agree with majority of the things you would do or you intend to do when elected in Congress? How do you intend to rectify all this?
Yeah, I think Representative Gottheimer frequently touts his bipartisanship, and I think he tries to make it seem like he is a representative for all of Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County. But when you look at him, his voting record and some of his messaging, honestly, his messaging is super divisive, especially some of his social media communications, extremely divisive against some ethnic or religious minorities in our community. And I don't think he makes a true honest effort to be inclusive to everyone. I think he has his base, like you said, and he kind of speaks on their behalf only. So I would sit on the Progressive Caucus in the Democratic Party, with the Democratic Party in Congress, and I believe that that caucus is more in line with the ideals of New Jersey Five in terms of pursuing things like universal health care, compulsory universal health care, pursuing things like closing Delaney Hall and closing the ICE facility in Elizabeth. So I think that, passing a moratorium on data centers, AI data centers, so the situation can be properly regulated and legislated, and these corporations are no longer, allowed to just run rampant and poison our water within local communities. So I think there's a lot of issues that Gottheimer kind of has a blind spot on. I think a lot of this district wants us to pursue and at least discuss, the Epstein files and the Epstein victims, with which Josh never really mentions. I'm interested in, impeaching Trump and, removing the president and his administration. I think that it's been a disastrous 2 years. I don't think that's something that Gottheimer would commit to. So all these things, all these policies that I'm standing for, I think really lead me to be a much stronger candidate for this seat than someone like Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Congressman Josh Gardner is probably a Jewish man. The word out there that he's been perceived as someone who is not anti-Semitic. And the word out there towards you that you are being perceived as someone who is very much anti-Semitic. To those who will be listening to you right now, what do you have to say to them? To those who have also been brought into this lie of you being anti-Semitic, what do you have to tell them?
Yeah, I think just in general, anti-Semitism is rising in our community and it's important to be aware of. But I think in a political discourse, we have no choice but to discuss some of these issues surrounding the Middle East and even hate and bigotry, in our country and in our district. So we have to be able to have discussions of these different issues, and that's what makes this country great, free speech and being able to have open dialogue and critical thinking, even with people that you mostly disagree with, civil discourse and, being able to vote and, ultimately choose your representation, I think are all core American values. And I think that's most important. So, there's no place for hate or bigotry at all, but it's important to, draw that line where there are actual, hateful or bigoted comments or calls to violence. And then it's important to also allow some, open dialogue, some honest, good faith dialogue about some of these sensitive topics. And they are, very religiously impactful, culturally impactful conversations. But I think, the whole democracy and the whole country suffers when we kind of shut these conversations down and try and, keep them out of the public eye and ban people from public discourse. I think that if someone is hateful or bigoted or calling to violence, we should be able to call that out and label that specific message or communication, racist or misogynistic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, whatever it may be. We should be able to call that out openly, without condemning people permanently. I think that that's really important to walk that line because it's important that these conversations are had, especially as atrocities escalate in different parts of the world.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Bergen County, which comprises majority of the towns that you would get to represent if elected into NG5 district, congressional district, has a huge population of the Jewish communities. When you go to cities, towns such as Teaneck, Wyckoff, a little bit of Bergenfield, New Milford, Paramus, pretty spread across, who have actually fallen into this falsehood, so to speak, of you being anti-Semitic. What's your appeal to them? What do you have to say towards this set of voters who would most likely would want to give you a second chance? I'll listen to you, get to hear from you. What do you have to say towards them?
Yeah, I think it's a very diverse district in general. And I think that there's a lot of diverse races, diverse ethnicities, and diverse religions, in the district. I just posted today a report that, 30%, around 30% of the district are immigrants from other countries. So we have a very diverse melting pot of a district. Keep in mind, this is a district that borders New York City. Um, it's a very urban area right in Fort Lee and Hackensack, and then stretches all the way across beautiful suburbs and comes all the way up to more Northwest Jersey, which is pretty rural. So there's every different kind of religion, every different kind of race, every different kind of um, wealth class. It's a really interesting district. I feel like I'm well positioned to represent it, growing up here for 20 years and really getting to learn about what people care about here in the district. So that's what's most important to me is being a strong representative. And, like I said, we got to allow some of this discourse to take place. And that's the only way we're going to work through some of these issues is if we have the dialogue.
Thank you, thank you. Let's go back to the 2020 election. The very same one Dr. Artin ran on.
Okay.
Something that I personally noticed, which is quite remarkable about Congressman Josh Gaetano. Um, he has built such a strong relationship with many of the mayors in the towns and cities in Bergen County. And I'm guessing he has done the same for Passaic and Success as well. And he has built great relationship with the mayors and the council members who are, of course, Democrats, and some cities who are actually Republicans. And what's remarkable about that is when it's time for the general election, they actually campaign for their own respective re-election or election into office, and as well as his re-election into office, which kind of helps him out with working smart and helps him out with winning. One practical way they do that that I've seen in the town of New Milford is in the town of New Milford and many other towns that when these council members or the mayors go out there to campaign or to drop their yard signs, they go alongside with Congressman Josh Gatama's yard signs. Many a times when they go out there knocking on doors, canvassing, dropping flyers for their own candidacy, they do same for Congressman Josh Gatama, which is quite remarkable. How do you intend to work around that and ensure that you come out victorious in the upcoming general election?
Yeah, absolutely. Gottheimer's definitely well connected in terms of, the establishment politics. But I think that establishment politics is so out of step with, the general political opinions of people on the ground here in Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County, the general working class. And I think that the wealth divide is getting bigger and bigger. I think people are suffering because they can't receive the medical care or the healthcare services that they need due to cost and due to affordability. I think we're seeing a rise in homelessness in the district. So I think that a lot of people, gas is, $1 to $2 higher than 2 years ago. So I think all of these issues kind of play into the fact that people are ready for a change. People are ready for politicians that, don't have the corporate background or the background as a Clinton speechwriter or the background in establishment politics. People are looking more towards people that have lived everyday lives and understand what it's like to be an everyday working class person. So I think that the politics is moving more towards in that direction. I think you see it in some of the recent New Jersey congressional elections as well as in New York City that people are ready for a change. People are ready to move on from the status quo. And something that, tactics that have gotten Gottheimer elected in the last 10 years, um, it's a new day. And I think that it's a different time even than 2020, which is 6 years ago. I think a lot has transpired in terms of escalation of fascism and in terms of ICE into our communities and detention centers being built. So I think that people are on high alert. And even the people that weren't on high alert for those things, it's now hitting their wallet in terms of surging electric costs, from every which way, surging energy bills, surging gas prices. So I think people are ready for a change. People are ready to turn the page, and hopefully, across the country, congressional districts can elect people with vision for the path forward and move on from the status quo, this corporate status quo that is harming a lot of working class and working poor.
Thank you. Thank you. Winning elections in New Jersey, like they say, money is the breast milk in politics.
Right.
And Congressman Josh Gatama has many. Just like
Definitely.
made mention of the corporate PACs, donating to his campaign. I'm sure for you, it's going to be more of the crowdfunding, which is very efficient as well. We cannot deny that. Um, when it comes down to getting out there and casting votes, we're going to have Republicans coming out there looking for their candidate on the ballot. We're going to have Democrats coming out there looking for their candidates on the ballot. More than likely, we might have independents who are staying home, not willing to come out there to cast their votes, which we're hoping that you would galvanize that base to come out and vote in your favor.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
this speaks specifically to the Republicans and the Democrats who are more than likely to come out to go vote for their candidates. Again, how do you which how do you listen to this set of voters? How do you draw them close as opposed to pushing them backward? Because what's going on out there, online and social media, the world out there, that you're pushing yourself far away from this set of voters. They're not being able to hear from you. You're not reaching down to their level and listening to them. How do you intend to remedy that so as to capture their hearts and in turn capture their votes in the upcoming general election? Because you need them to win, truth be told.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as we discussed, Representative Gottheimer has his own kind of blend of politics that he's kind of curtailed and designed for, this district. So I think it's a very unique district, maybe the most unique congressional district in the country, and that this is the most wide open race in the country right now for the general election. I think that in this district, there are a lot of Republican voters who may have voted for Trump even most recently that are unhappy with how this administration has gone, and they voted for things like less foreign wars, less corruption, reinvesting in American infrastructure, lowering costs, and they've received none of those things. So I think that this district is very much wide open, and people are thinking creatively about this general election, and not so much in partisan lines. So yeah, I'm hopeful to capture, Republicans that may have voted for Trump but are looking to leave the party. As many popular people, that are front facing of the conservative movement, like Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson. These are all prominent people with millions of followers that have openly disavowed, this administration and even furthermore, the Republican Party. So I think that those views are a lot of people in the constituency share those views and are also upset with this administration. Hopefully, this is the end of such loyalist partisan thinking, because I think even in Congress, that kind of hardline thinking is really what's hurt us in terms of this Congress being such a lame duck Congress and allowing such authoritarianism from Trump. So it's a Big Ten. I'm trying to create a new voting block and be open-minded, regardless of, where you voted in the past. I don't hold it against you in any way. I want to hear what your views are now and what your views are going forward. And, I'm open to building coalition with anyone, that I think I can accomplish goals with.
Thank you, Mr. Adda. If you were to get elected into Congress, what are some policies you're of the opinion that would benefit NG5 congressional districts, the resident in those districts?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we talked about, we need to get ICE out of our streets. I think we need to move to a more community-centered, human rights-centered immigration policy. ICE is a relatively modern invention, and even the parent organization, Department of Homeland Security, was created in response to 9/11 as recently as 2003. So we've handled immigration in this country in a civil way, in a way that respects basic dignity of people, and I think that's what we need to get back to. And that's first and foremost on my mind when I get in there. I'm also interested in building out public transit, cutting emissions and cutting down on the amount of vehicles that we have parked on the freeway and parkway, driving to and from work, commuting to and from work every single day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I think the only reason that public transit hasn't been built out more in the state is because of big oil, the corruption of big oil, and big oil, being one of the main financiers for the majority of our congressmen in both parties. So I'm looking to really invest in New Jersey in terms of public transit. We could be a leader in terms of public transit. We have some of the most densely populated areas right here in Bergen County. And I think that would really benefit from like a revamped public transit system that even stretched out into Passaic and Sussex County. So we can begin to wean people off the very expensive burden of having to own a car, insure a car, register a car, and fill a car up with gas every single day. So that's a main way that I would look to, kind of shift costs off of commuters in our district. I think we need to build out public transit as soon as possible, and that's a key way that we can lower emissions and respond to the climate emergency as well.
Thank you, Mr. Adda. Thank you very much. We commend you for running, for throwing your hat in the ring.
Thanks, sir. We got to try something because at least we're fighting for democracy, right? So if it weren't for me, we would be kind of be having a lame race with
Right.
Gottheimer and a Republican candidate that is frankly unknown. He has no record of public service, and he's not being funded very strongly. So if you look at like what the Republican Party does to someone that they actually want to get out of the seat, you look no further than Congressional District KY4 in Kentucky. And they had Mr. Thomas Massey, who has served 7 terms in Congress, 14 years. And, they funded his opponent to the tune of $15 million. The Republican Party and AIPAC, and a relatively unknown dairy farmer in Kentucky 4, unseated, very popular Thomas Massey. So when you look at that race and you see, how they treat someone they really want to remove from the seat, they are not treating Mr. Gottheimer, Congressman Gottheimer, like that. Especially in a year where, Mike Johnson and President Trump are, openly, hoping that Republicans win the midterms and they retain the majority. It seems like this New Jersey 5 seat on paper would be up for grabs for them to potentially, make a switch to a red seat. But it is Mr. Gottheimer in this seat, and you have to realize that Josh Gottheimer is the MAGA candidate. Josh Gottheimer is in the favor of President Trump, and Gottheimer has voted against impeaching Trump when he attacked Iran in June 2025 without congressional approval. He's voted against curtailing Trump's war powers in the Middle East. And, even very recently, he was the only New Jersey Democrat to vote for FISA warrantless surveillance on civilians, on people like me and you, Jude. So this guy is completely rogue, and he's an ally of both Democratic leadership, like Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries, as well as he's an ally of President Trump and the administration. So I think he's got all of his boxes checked, but the voters on the ground of Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County, and that's the key box that he forgot about.
Well, 18 or loving Congressman Josh Gottheimer, many would argue that he's actually representing the residents in the NJ5th district well, because he's able to cater to some of the needs of the Republicans in his district. He's able to cater to some of the needs of the Democrats in his district, and he's able to galvanize a little bit of the independent voters as well. The world out there in Bergen County in particular are that many of the policies and the issues that you seem to be advocating for and or against are anti-Republicans to some extent, and at the same time, they are also anti-Democrat to some extent. Now, we do know clearly that for you to emerge, for you to win this election, you need the vote in support of Republican voters as well as Democratic voters. How are you going to find a common ground so as to draw these folks closer to you as we get closer to November, the general election? What's the plan?
Absolutely. So I think I have, parts of my policy that appeal to both sides. So in terms of Democrat voters, for compulsory universal health care, and in terms of Republicans, I'm someone that's for free speech. I think the censorship on social media has gone, really too far, and the corporate and top-down influence, of the censorship of certain words and certain topics has gotten pretty egregious, online, as well as the censorship of peaceful protests, in person. So I'm someone that's for free speech and open dialogue, have we've discussed. I think that should be a basic American value, regardless of, what party you may have voted on in the past, or what party you consider yourself a part of. Also, I'm against corruption, so I'm in general for getting money out of politics and more transparency in terms of corporate and PAC lobbying in Congress. I think that all of that lobbying and money in politics has really drowned out the will of everyday Americans and made it really hard for everyday people to get their voice heard in Congress or beyond. So I think that's a philosophy that a lot of people would resonate with. And there's Republicans, like Representative Burchett comes to mind, who teams up with Representative AOC to, try and pass some of these stock bans and some of these transparency acts in Congress. So I do have, I think, a little bit of policy for everyone, and I'm really trying to get people to think outside of the bipartisan blinders that a lot of times we think in, and make people realize that sometimes when it comes down to the red versus blue, neither of these people are going to stand up for the working class. Neither of these people are going to stand up for universal human rights for everyone, for every resident of the United States. So I think that's really important to realize that a lot of times issues are completely left off the ballot because the Republican Party and the Democratic Party both agree. So we don't even get a chance to weigh in on the offensive in Gaza or some of the most serious issues because, there's so much overlap now between the Republican and Democratic Party. So I'll never apologize for participating in the general election, and this isn't the only campaign. I hope to work with other progressive independents across the country, and even working class leaders of any age that want to make their general elections more competitive, because all it can do is push Representative Gottheimer to be better and have policies that better serve people. So whether I'm the representative or it is Representative Gottheimer, at least we asked him the tough questions and made him answer some of the tough questions, for his voters and for his constituents. Because otherwise, like I said, there's not going to be any dialogue at all, and no one thrives under that kind of situation.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Thank you very much for sharing those. NG5 district. That's a wonderful district.
It really is beautiful.
Republicans in New Jersey 5th congressional district would actually argue that the district is hot for the taking for Republicans.
There's an
Democrats would also
argument for
argue
that.
the same thing, that it's a solid blue on the contrary,
Right.
um, which leads us to the idea of, could it be that an independent candidate is more better qualified at defeating Congressman Josh Gottheimer? Someone in NG5 district, I'll paraphrase what she said. She said, I need a candidate whom I can vote for. I do not want to vote against a candidate, referring to Congressman Josh Gottheimer. They're looking for a candidate. Hopefully they can find that in you. You would help
I hope so.
convince them on that, as to
Right.
whether or not they can bank on you to be that candidate that they can vote for, as opposed to looking for someone with whom they can vote against towards getting rid of Congressman Josh Gottheimer. It's a quite interesting district. We have Republicans who disagree with you on many of the issues and policies that you strongly stand for. We have Democrats, on the other hand, who disagree with you on many of the policies and issues that you stand for. We have independents who are just anyone else but Josh Gottheimer. Now, it's a milky one. And when it comes down to the Israel and Palestinian issues, we have many Jewish who are opposed to many of the things you stood for and you stand for. We have many of the fellow brothers and sisters, Muslim populations in the NG5 congressional district, who are so much energetic and in love with what you stand for and embrace your ideology. And these are individuals in your district that you would represent and serve peacefully. And Congressman Josh Gottheimer, we got to give it to him. He has done well representing everyone, a vast majority of those in the district, right? I think at one point, just like you made mention of, he was against um, the impeachment of President Trump, to which many Republicans actually supported in his district, and to which many Democrats in the same district were opposed to. Now, don't you think we need that kind of a leadership? Someone who is neither here or there, someone who can stay in the middle and stand on solid ground and say, this is what we want as a people, as a community? In what way do you intend to, why do you want to replace Congressman Josh Gottheimer? What are you bringing to the table? What's the plan? What's the strategy? So we want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. To your first point, I think that, very often we are lulled into a lesser of two evils, type scenario, when it's just the Republican versus the Democratic candidate. And, if I was not in the race, that's how I would be voting, as a lesser of two evils, where I have my gripes with Congressman Gottheimer, but, I wouldn't want to add to the Republican faction in Congress. My position is that, Josh Gottheimer already is that Republican piece to the puzzle, and he already, votes with Republicans on some of the most insidious legislation that there is. So he is a Democrat in name only, and I think that that's the number one thing to realize, is that these Democrat in name onlys, are the most insidious members of Congress that are frequently crossing over to vote with Republicans and in favor of big business and oligarchy. So I think that's the number one most important thing to realize in this race. And I'm hopeful we can kind of, put the partisan labels kind of aside and just really try and look objectively at Gottheimer versus Key Rain versus Rueda and, have people kind of interact with that on their own and see what policies they most align with. Because Gottheimer is not the same congressman as when he ran 10 years ago. And he's kind of really, um, you know, evolved, I think, his political stance and how aggressive he is in Congress. So I think that his track record speaks for itself. And I think that, another person in the race pushing him to be a better representative could never be a bad thing.
So you think, so you think you're the guy?
Yeah, I think I can do it. I think I love this district. Like you said, it's a beautiful district of urban, beautiful suburbs and beautiful rural areas. And I think that I've experienced this district really well for the last 20 years. I grew up here. I went to school right in Sparta Township in Sussex County. It's close to my heart. There wouldn't be anywhere else where I would want to, represent. And most importantly, I think that Josh is relatively inaccessible. And it's not me being a policy genius or a perfect person even, but I know that I can do a better job of staying connected with, the people on the ground here and making them my priority and nobody else and not even my own finances. And I think that's hard to find in all of Congress, so I think that I'm hopeful to set the bar in terms of um, action, action over words and action over talking points and really exemplify, what it looks like to be a congressman who is prioritizing the needs of his district and, the working class people on the ground of his district. And I think that I can kind of set the tone a similar way to, the way Mamdani has set the tone in, New York City and just kind of spoken through his actions and, done what he said he was going to do. I think, I aim to bring that level of momentum to congressional seat when I get there.
Nice. So you are the Mamdani of the NJ 5th Congressional District,
I
correct?
wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's a high bar, and I don't think that Congress is the same exact as comparable as New York City mayor position. I think that he's able to really do a good job of implementing a lot of his policies and showing results. As one mayor, where Congress is much more of a coalition building experience. Where you have to build coalition to pass your bills, co-sponsor your bills, and gain support. So, but in the sense that he is, action fo focused and aims to really, put his money where his mouth is in terms of his messaging and the things that he ran on. I aim to, attack it with that level of intensity.
Thank you. Speaking of coalition, which you just spoke of,
Yeah.
you were to pass a bill, who would you be looking up to in the Senate? They can help push that bill forward. Which senator would you be looking up to?
Yeah. First and
I'm guessing
foremost,
we can mention the likes of Senator Bernie Sanders. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, sure. I was gonna go with Senator Markey. I think that
Really?
yeah, I think that yeah, anyone that's like supportive of the Green New Deal, you can go right on Green New Pledge Champions on the website on Green New Deal Pledge and check out the Congress members as well as the running candidates, the current running candidates that have committed to, further the interest of the Green New Deal. And I think that is kind of the progressive caucus that I'm most aligned with. So Senator Markey, yeah, Senator Sanders, as you mentioned, and there's a lot of good representatives that are kind of building a strong coalition around prioritizing our planet and moving away from fossil fuels and emissions. So that's something that I would be, first and foremost on my mind in this seat as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, so you're hoping to become in the Mandani, gain NG 5th Congressional District?
No, I wouldn't go that far, but I want to have the same level of, um, action and backing up his campaign, the rhetoric of his campaign with policy and, with really putting his best foot forward every day for all of New Yorkers. Like you said, if I'm elected to this position, when I'm elected to this position, I need to represent all of the district, even the people that do not agree with me, even the people that did not vote for me. So I have to be able to remain open and keep my door open and my DMs open and my email box open to all of these people and receive constructive criticism from all the residents of New Jersey 5. And that's the kind of congressman I want to be. I don't want to prioritize, any groups over the other. And that's what a strong congressman does is hear all the opinions of his entire district and different subsects of each community. So it's a learning experience for me, and it's something I've really enjoyed doing. Bopping around the district and speaking at different groups and different protests and getting involved with different coalitions of activism. It's been great to kind of meet more people in the district, talk to them about the important topics that we're experiencing and the important political issues that are coming to our front door here in this district and across the country, and what the best plan of action is and what we can do. So that's the kind of representative I want to be, the collaborative experience, and not locked in my office with the door locked and only on Facebook once a month or whatever. I want to be super accessible to the people on the ground and always be receptive to constructive criticism and suggestions to policies and hear about what people's issues are.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. It's it's not an easy thing to do when you put yourself out there to
Right.
run office. But thank you for throwing yourself out there. But thank you for your service to the nation. Um, People would agree or disagree with you all they want, but we also thank you for at least giving us a voice and putting yourself out there as a better alternative to Congressman Josh Gaetano. And we hope that Republicans as well as Democrats would hopefully consider you, hopefully do some more research into who you are, what you're all about, what you stand for, and give you a shot. We commend you tremendously. Just as we wrap up, um, we don't know if you've reached out to Congressman Josh Gaetano yet regarding the debates. Are you open to such? If an opportunity were to open up?
Yeah, of course. I haven't reached out to him directly, but I have a coalition of students at Sussex County Community College that are involved in the debate team there. And they said that they are going to try and coordinate a debate between myself, Key Rain, and Congressman Josh Gottheimer. So I'm hopeful that gets all approved with the college, and that can go ahead and formal invitations to that can be sent out. I'm also hopeful that League of Women Voters, which sometimes host debates for this election, will provide the infrastructure to have a proper debate. And I encourage Congressman Gottheimer to come out and defend his policies. And I think that would be the best thing for him and the best thing for democracy in this district. To kind of cut through some of the red tape and the hateful messaging that we see online. So, I really would look forward to that. And to your point, thank you so much. I appreciate you as well for taking the time to give me a platform and give a platform to an independent candidate or a third party candidate. And I think those are really the forward-thinking journalists that are going to help lead to a better democracy in this country. Journalism that is open-minded to people that are not only on the Republican or Democratic Party line, but people with new ideas and new ideologies. I think that's going to be the way we kind of solve some of this trouble that we're in now in this country. So thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate your kind words.
The pleasure's mine. Just as we wrap up, you made mention of the League of Women Voters.
Right.
Should they not create an avenue for you to get to debate Congressman Josh Gaetano, and should Congressman himself decline an invitation to debate with you, are you still going to go solo debating or just sharing your views out there to the people of NG5 Congressional District?
Yeah, that's what I have to do regardless. For people to have trust in me and confidence in me as a representative, I'm going to have to keep, letting my message and my views be known, regardless. Would I love the opportunity, and I think it'd be great for the district and the general health of democracy in the district to, have a formal debate with Congressman Gottheimer and Sean Keirain, the Republican candidate. I think that would be an amazing opportunity for everyone, and there's no harm in doing something like that. But I'm hopeful that some of these more established organizations can take the lead we mentioned Sussex County Community College or League of Women Voters. Hopefully, they can supply that infrastructure. But like you said, there's no guarantee that Congress Gottheimer or even Key Rain are open for this kind of thing. I don't think either of them have mentioned it publicly. But I think it'd be good for democracy and good for America in general to make sure that we at least guarantee one debate, for these congressional elections, same way as we do for, presidential elections. I think that's important to get people on the stage and really entertain and have democracy because democracy has kind of failed in New Jersey 5, and you wouldn't even know that we're having an election. There's not a lot of fanfare or marketing around midterms in general in this district. There's no very little lawn signs or any voter activity in this district. So it's a little bit sleepy. That's why I'm trying to stoke the fires and, push the envelope to have the right dialogue.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. As we answer this final question, you're gonna get to answer this final question, and we give you the last word. You leave a comment, and that will bring this session, phenomenal session, to a close. GOTV, getting out the vote. You and I both know it. It's very, very important in every election. In every election. Right now, we're dealing with a vast. If you notice, why we started this conversation, we've been all about how can we get out the vote? How can we encourage those who are now dissuaded in you to become persuaded towards you, right? How can we encourage those who are persuaded towards you to remain that way, right? How can we encourage those who think ill towards you to have a rethink towards you and your candidacy? That's what this is all about, getting out the vote. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the numbers, the numbers, the numbers. That's all you need, 50 plus 1 to win this election. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to address the general house, the Republicans who are watching you, the Democrats who are tuning in, who are watching you as well, the independent voters who are also watching you. Many of them are saying to themselves, there's no point coming out to vote. We know who's going to win. Congressman Josh Gottheimer always has, or always has, he has always had a candidate in the general election opposed him, and has always come out victorious. So what's the point coming out to cast my vote? I don't believe that my vote for Adam will make a difference, right? What do you have to say towards a set of voters? What do you have to say towards a set of Democratic voters who are pissed with you simply because you chose not to run in the Democratic primary and you chose to run as an independent? How do you address these voters? How do you address the voters on the Republican side who are pissed with you as well, simply because you chose not to run as a Republican in the Republican primaries, but to run as an independent voter, candidate? How do you bring all these people together? What do you have to say to all these set of voters? And then the independent voters as well. What do you have to say to them that would encourage them to come out there in their thousands and cast their vote for you because you can make it happen? So over to you, Mr. Haddam.
Yeah, I think that I will prove myself to be the true grassroots, independent, everyman of this group, of this trio that's running for the seat, and prove to all the voters that I will be the most committed to hearing their concerns and keeping my door open to everyone. And I think that's the number one skill I'm going to have in this position is to be a representative of what's truly popular on the ground in the district. And my experience of growing up here for 20 years and also living in Jersey City and in Brooklyn, I think that I just have the right mix of understanding the kind of demographic that is living here in New Jersey 5. So I just aim to make that most apparent and kind of expose the other candidates, especially Congressman Gottheimer, expose kind of where his interests lie and who he's really representing. And once you kind of figure out that that is a small percentage of the population and definitely a small percentage of the district at large, I think that people can kind of begin to see beyond the Democratic or Republican or independent label. And in this race and across the country, people can begin to just look at the candidate for what they are and see if the policies, match their own. But also, I would say that you can't ignore the results of neighboring congressional districts in New Jersey and New York City, like we talked about. And these are established incumbents that are being unseated, well-funded incumbents that have been unseated in New York City in terms of Dan Goldman, in terms of SBA in New York City, and the progressive leaders that are, coming up, like Ana Lilia Mejia right here in New Jersey 11, neighboring New Jersey 11. We've got Dr. Adam Hamwee in New Jersey 12. So when you look around, across the George Washington Bridge in New York City and right here in New Jersey, the neighboring districts are all moving towards more human rights centered progressive politics and away from the status quo and the way things have been. And I think this race is a perfect example of where we can do the same. And we can kind of turn the page on the status quo and, congressmen that are bought and paid for by corporate and foreign interests and put someone in there that has their best years ahead of them and really has a strong motivation to a strong volition to represent people here on the ground. So that's my main message. I've committed to not own stocks or crypto. So I won't have that financial piece to the puzzle, that financial bias when I'm voting or when I'm writing legislation. And like I said, I really want to set the example for what a congressman looks like when he's actually prioritizing um, 800 or so constituents on the ground that are his voters.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. So we're gonna have you. It's a. It's not a question. It's not a question. It's an avenue for you to get to speak to voters out there in New Jersey 5th Congressional District. There's a reason why our politics in New Jersey is called Jersey politics,
Right.
right? Um, the incumbents, like you rightly alluded to, they have a strong hold on the grassroots. The better equipped in terms of mobilizing voters to turn out for them. Nonetheless, notwithstanding, it's doable. They can be beatable. It's achievable, as you've said. You made mention it happened in New York, and it's happening all over the country. It can happen in New Jersey, right? We saw what happened with former state senator Ed, the truck driver who defeated Steve Sweeney. It happened. It might happen in every 5 congressional districts.
People
You
are hungry for, working class people, people that look like they're experiencing more of the same struggles as they are. So he
correct,
was in Denver and Colorado one,
correct,
a corporate funded,
correct,
Democrat that has been there 30 years,
correct.
is unseated by someone born in 1997. So I think that, the some of the headwinds are definitely trending away from Gottheimer and towards a more progressive independent candidate. So I'm hopeful that we can have similar results here in New Jersey 5.
We'll see what the post tells us and what the result shows us. Just as a last minute comment, um, it's up to you. You get to take that away, and then we'll bring the meeting to a close. This conversation to a close. There are
Yeah,
so many things you tend to stand for, so many policies you align yourself with, or you would love to do for NG5 congressional districts. For the ordinary voters who are not so much political literate, why should they vote for you? Just sum it up, and conclude for us, and then we'll bring tonight this conversation to a close. Why should a voter get out there and cast your vote for you as opposed to Congressman Josh Gatterman? So, in summary, we want you to summarize all that, and then we'll bring the conversation to a close. Go ahead, sir.
all right. Well, I would say that constituents of New Jersey 5 need to first start with who their representation is now and give him a good hard look. This is someone that has profited $50 million in the past 10 years. He's one of the biggest insider traders in terms of stock trading in Congress, second in volume to only Nancy Pelosi. And this is someone that has unfortunately left the will of voters behind quite a while ago and kind of parceled up and sold our representation for Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County to various interests, including for-profit healthcare to big tech, where he used to work, coming directly from a tenure at Microsoft. So you should be extremely alarmed at the current rate of your representation on the federal level. And when you really dig into some of the stuff that he's involved with, it's particularly shocking. So I think anyone that is not moving and are looking towards what are the other options in terms of Josh Gottheimer this year, I think is just possibly a little less informed than they should be and a little less educated than they should be, and that's understandable. And these kind of things aren't talked about a lot, especially with someone that dominates cable news coverage like Gottheimer does. But once you dig into kind of his policies, you kind of notice that it's out of step with the people on the ground of New Jersey 5. And the best option that we can go for is someone that is an everyman, someone that has grown up here, and someone that is committed to representing other people on the ground of the district. So I aim to be that each and every day, and I aim to gain your trust each and every day and your confidence in Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Adam. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us, and we want to thank all those who were able to tune in. Once again, we are JE Field Strategy, a non-partisan political consulting firm. We do not discriminate. We're open to working with any political candidate, irrespective of their political affiliations. We do a lot of a lot of political services as far as canvassing, media, and stuff like that. So we are very thankful that you're able to join us, and we wish you all of the very best in your upcoming election. Go do it, okay? Go make it happen. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for having me, and I look forward to working together on door knocking and stuff.
Yes, yes, we'll make that happen. Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, and have a
Appreciate
great evening. Okay.
you as well.
All right. Thank you.